Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Worthy, the brand new game that has just come out. But before we get into discussing whether we're worthy enough to play it,
there it is.
We got some feedback from our arcade pool episode. Do you remember that?
I just had an awesome thought though. It's a swimming pool. You know, it's surrounded by arcade games, but that might be dangerous.
Especially if someone tries to push one in, you know, it's a prank.
Yeah,
might end badly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Joseph H. says, this is a very good game. I remember playing it at my friend's house, and it reminded me of a pool game on the NES that was very similar. For multiplayer, getting it to work on Amiga Live would be great.
Yeah.
One feature I think that would benefit this game for multiplayer is the ability to set a timer for each shot. That would move the game along and make it a bit more challenging.
That's why, you know, the old Chad, that's one of his Achilles heels. It's like everything he does on Earth.
Yeah.
He sizes up. And I've played actual pool with him. It's very similar. I wish he had a timer there because he's got to old Chad it up. He's got to make sure everything.
Does he make sure that the timer is turned off on worms? In between
yeah, no, there's no time. I mean, anything we do. And if you're playing a role-playing game or a war game or something, pack a lunch. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Thanks, Joseph, for that feedback. We got one new iTunes review. This is from StewTube from the UK.
Okay.
And he says, excellent podcast on the beloved Amiga with a rare American view on a machine that was much more popular in Europe. Aaron and Boat have a great chemistry and are very entertaining to listen to, and it's great to hear their opinions on the various games they play. So I'd just like to remind all of you an interesting stat that I heard today. Did you know that the podcast player on the iPhone accounts for 60% of all podcast traffic worldwide? So as much as it pains me to have to tell you this, please leave us a review on iTunes, even if you don't listen to iTunes, because it's the way that people discover new podcasts. And lots of other podcatchers, including the one that you use and the one that I use the Apple Podcast search function. You can actually import it into your podcatcher to kind of for people to find new podcasts.
I really want to alienate a large chunk of our audience. They just recently announced that Apple became the first company in history, I think it was, to be worth like $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
And how did they obtain this lofty sum, this incredible sum of money? What did they do this past year? Because I read this. What did they do to obtain this incredible sum of cash? What did they do?
I don't know.
They raised their prices, is what they did, and they're now just more expensive. And people, they just more than, hey, just take my money, take it. I appreciate your iTunes reviews. That's all I can say. I'm not even going to comment because I could go here. I could go all day. I'm not going to do it. They know. People know.
Yeah. If you've got a goatee and you're bald and you recently had a mullet, there's only one opinion you're allowed to have about Apple. And that's the opinion you hold.
I don't know what that means. You talking about me?
No.
When did I have a mullet?
I'm talking about somebody else.
I never had a mullet. If anything, I had a skullet. That's what Rich used to call it when you have no hair.
Potato.
I'm going to potato you in a minute.
A potato.
Keep the ball rolling with the feedback.
Okay. Well, that concludes the feedback.
What?
So, but it doesn't conclude our weekly roundup of this week's Amiga news. Amiga news.
Is that?
There's the robot.
That was the robot?
Before we dive into the Amiga news, I want to thank Patreon supporter and all-around great guy, Duncan Stiles, for our flashy new Amiga news. What do you call that thing? Animated logo?
I call it the product of a handsome genius.
All right. You get no argument from me.
There you go. The Dunk, he knows the score.
What's first up on the Gamble train?
The Gambletron.
The Gambletron,
What are you talking about? A Gamble train? So it's funny. I read a couple of these articles this week they're sort of waxing on the Amigas. I don't know. I guess people are kind of figuring out, hey, wait a minute. There's a rumbling. Mm-hmm. There's a rumbling in Amiga Town.
Right.
You know, we've had the finger on the pulse, but some people have been out of town.
They're just now realizing.
And so the first one here, Commodore's beloved Amiga is being revitalized with updated retro hardware. This was from an outfit called hothardware.com.
Only the hottest hardware.
And they go into what we've been talking about for many years: new motherboards, accelerators, vampires, all the cool crap that's been coming out that makes the Amiga suddenly not only rise from the dead like a phoenix
from your grave.
That's right, but they're whooping that butt, we've seen articles like this. It's a pretty good article, but I thought, hey, I'll throw this in the news. People get a kick out of these, and it makes me feel good that the
people outside the hardcore Amiga press is starting to pick up on the fact that this machine is back and better than ever.
That's right. That's correct, Boat. So next on the docket. Now this one, I seem to vaguely recall us mentioning long ago. This is from Vintage. Vintage is the new old.com, another site that I frequent. Bad Ninjas versus Rick and Joe. The final version has been released for the Amiga. You can download it and play it right now for free. It's free. So there it is. Boat's got it pulled up here. I watched some footage of this, and it is something. It might be fun. It's a little platformy.
Is this this is not this has nothing to do with Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja?
I don't know. I'm assuming they're playing off that. I will say it doesn't look like it. Looks like they took the crates from Navy SEALs, or doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I watched this played over and over, and the poor fellow playing just could not get past this last huge gap. So I didn't get to see how it into, but it looks pretty good to me. I thought it looked okay, you know.
Yeah, I think the player animates well. He's
Joe
well drawn.
he's very expressionist. I mean, you can see him. He looks.
He's a man after your own heart too.
Well, because he's bald. Because he's had a mullet. Is that what you're going to say?
Jimmy Anvil Neidhart.
What he's got? Well, how do you figure? He's a huge. He does have a pretty good size goatee.
He does. I mean, you got to look at it in relation to the rest of his body.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, but anyway, if you want to go play this for free, I linked off of the Vintage is the new old, but I'm sure you could go directly to the website. But I would check that out. We like those guys over Vintage is the new old, and they do it. They do a lot of interesting stuff over there. So last week, I'm going to touch this briefly one more time, but if you have a CD32 and you want to get together with your buddies and drink some beer, there's a new massive multiplayer compilation out, which is outstanding. I looked over the list of the stuff in it. It's a lot of good stuff. I love these compilations, as you know. I'm not going to get into the legalities of said compilations because we know we've been down that road before. So here's a new one, Boat. And this one's from Amitopia.com. I love all these Amiga sites.
Me too. I love the names
too. Great. I know. We've talked about Amigatopia before. This is they have introduced the ZZ 9000 RTG card. It's a video card.
Wow.
Did you look at this thing?
No.
Look at the crap that this does. You're thinking to yourself, a video card for the Amiga? Okay. It's not just a video card, man. Read some of that stuff. You can see it better than me.
Yeah, so it's got it upgrades your RAM to 1 gigabyte of RAM. You've got an Ethernet interface built on, an SD card interface, and all of the drivers, firmware, and schematics, they're all open source. So you can play around with this thing and do whatever you want. This is for the Amiga 2000, 3000, and 4000. So you have to have one of the...
You have to have a Zorro slot for it.
Right.
But man, whoa, that's not bad.
Yeah, and the price, 299 euros, hey, that's cheaper than a Vampire.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different beast, that's for sure. But I mean, hey, a gig of RAM, DDR3 RAM, Ethernet interface, SD card interface. I mean, that is tremendous. So that is going to be something. Now, I don't think these have shipped yet. No, they're shipping soon. I think they're taking pre-orders.
The shipping is anticipated for the end of October 2018.
Very good, very good. This is hot off the presses. I have to admit, I've never heard of this magazine, but I stumbled across it. Have you ever heard of Jax magazine, JAX?
Never.
This is their web page, Jax Enter. And this is an article from their assistant editor, Sarah Schlotterhaar. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I know she lives in Germany. I read her bio. This is another sort of an article like we touched on before, A Friend Forever, The History and Legacy of Amiga. And this is just sort of a little love letter to the Amiga and how great it is. And it's nice. It's a cute little article. It just goes through the history, what's going on now.
Sometimes it's nice that these articles are still written because you can share these articles with your friends when they ask you, what's the deal with this Amiga? Well, here's a easy, concise way to sum it up.
Yeah, and like I said, this is sort of out of the usual channels for Amiga stuff, and so I grabbed it when I saw it.
Yeah.
So I like that. That I think that just came out in the last day or two. Let's go over some of the site news this week. So first thing I want to touch on, this is probably certainly the most important thing that came out this week. Our good and dear friend, the Dreamcatcher, a man, a prolific writer, an eccentric genius, and has put out the second, his #2 compilation book. It is now out. It's a huge PDF of all the stuff. He basically picks up where he left off with his first compilation of just all of his articles compiled in a lovely PDF, all taken care of. Have you looked at this yet?
1,400 pages.
Yeah, it's monstrous.
Yeah.
Remember, at one point I was compiling my own Dreamcatcher book, basically, and it was unbelievably huge. I mean, Dreamcatcher is easily could write a weekly. Probably a weekly newsletter, if you wanted to. I mean, so we're very fortunate that he's on our side.
Absolutely.
And he's kicking it old school. So this is it's free. Go get it right now. And get the first one, too, which was great. And I believe the first one was, I don't know if this was, but the first one he was taking donations through it to charity.
That's right.
I think that's still in effect.
Probably so.
Yeah. So, and if some links or something like that, you could always, the Amigathon 2018 site is still up. So if you want to and if you want to mention Dreamcatcher and throw a couple bucks that way, that'd be fine too. But I mean, if you don't, that's fine. It's free. Go get it. I mean, it's definitely worth your time. It's something. It's nice to be able to have this stuff on the go. You may want to read this offline somewhere.
Right. If you're taking a long plane trip or something like that, would be perfect to put on the iPad.
That would be. I mean, talk about a trip down memory lane too, right? Something else I wanted to mention. There's a few more non-site related items, but that was something I definitely wanted to touch on. So, have you heard of Scene World Magazine?
You know, I feel like I have, but if you ask me what they did or who they stood for, I would not know.
Right. So I found this article. I don't know where I found this at, but it's a video interview with Mike Clark, who was a composer that worked for Psygnosis. He worked on stuff. He worked on the music for Last Ninja 2, and he also did a bunch of programming, and he did other console stuff. Pretty interesting. I watched some of it, and it was, it's always interesting to hear from Psygnosis. So it's definitely worth your watch. It's on YouTube. We've got a link. I think it was on YouTube. It's linked off the site there if you want to give that a whirl.
Awesome.
I didn't mention this a couple weeks ago, and I love it. I'm going to mention it right now. Our good friends over at Amiga Love. I love Amiga Love. Every time we have an article for them or something, I always expostulate on their greatness. And so we talked a couple weeks ago about a project that they're into over there called the Rejuvenator, which is an Amiga 1000 bit of hardware that was out in the glory days of the Amiga that sort of was an awesome piece of hardware, but no one had one, and it sort of fell by the wayside. So the fellow over at Amiga Love had found it. He'd found one, and he was trying to get permission to make a new one. And he's gotten the permission. In fact, he's got a campaign going right now to fund the manufacturing of new ones. But there was one hiccup boat. It's a difficult card to install. It's so difficult that he hadn't actually gotten to install it on his 1000 to see if it actually would work.
Wow.
Okay. And what he was missing were certain standoffs and a few items that probably would have came with it originally that he needed to actually properly mount this thing, because it mounts on top of the Amiga 1000 in such a way where part of it has to go into certain slots. It's real tricky unless you have the guides to do it. I mean, by guides, I mean little plastic guides. And so this week, or when this was, I think this might be a week old, a fellow, I think a guy used a one of these 3D printers to get all this stuff worked out.
So he basically created the guides from a 3D printer?
That's right.
Okay.
And he hooked this up, and it worked.
Wow.
It worked straight away. And this video shows him getting it to work. It shows him looking at the clock speed, looking at how it picks up with the Amiga, like what all this system info picks up, the speed, the amount of memory, blah, blah, blah. But it worked straight away. Which, I mean, if you think about it, that's amazing.
That is my dream Amiga is a 1000 with a rejuvenator.
It would be
because
sweet.
You get all the charm of the original deal,
Yeah.
but you get all the add-ons.
Right. And this thing is pretty interesting. I mean, not only are you pushing this down into your Amiga, but you're actually having to take some of your Amiga's chips off and put it in this.
Oh,
and you can even update you could update some of the chips. You could put a fatter Agnes, and you can put a bunch of different chips that are upgraded chips from, like, say, a 500.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stuff that basically gives you an ECS, gives you the bigger, more chip memory, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
This is a real big step, because before they could start manufacturing these or even thinking about running new versions, they had to make sure the old one worked and how it worked, you know. And so this was a big step. And the video is real cool. He does a real good job. And he says in the future he's going to put out some demos and some demonstrations of it running various bits of software. But it seems it's a good step.
Very cool. So.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm rooting for this. I wish I still had my 1000. It got sold one year for Christmas gifts, I'm afraid. But I've sold the Amiga 1000 3 times in my life. Yeah, so I don't have one right now.
Well, next time you buy it back and then sell it for ridiculously cheap, I'll buy it from you.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? The next time it's going to get kept. That's for darn sure. So let's talk about a little site news. We mentioned Dreamcatch's article, or his a compilation of articles. We released, I believe this week we released hour 5 of the Amiga-thon. This is now, we haven't gotten to the upcoming will be the release of Doom. That'll be next week, which by the time this airs will probably be about the same time, right? So coming soon, if not already out, look for hour 6, the big hour. That's when it all went down. So if you want to hear get the behind the scenes scoop on the
hour 5 is still a pretty big hour. Though.
It is, because you get to see me and Brent whoop a butt at some Silkworm.
You get to see me eat some food on the couch.
Yes. Also in hour 5, of course, and I think in late in hour 5, has John shown up yet in this hour? He comes in between hour 5 and 6.
There are you gesticulating madly towards the screen.
Well, yeah, I'll do that now and again. But in hour 6, it all aside the fact that everything breaks. John shows up with pizza, plus Hose shows up.
Yeah,
he's ready to rock
that's
and
when
roll.
The party starts.
Well, it's
right as soon as everything
ended and started simultaneously. Yeah, so if you're going back and watching those, hour 5 out now, hour 6 probably out by the time this airs. So
no. It won't be out.
Are you?
Don't worry about the future. Never broadcast what's going on in the future, because we don't know.
Right, but I mean, I don't know. Are you releasing those on schedule?
Yes.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, they all come out. Amigathon comes out every Tuesday. Thursday is actually, I think it's a remastered Amigos comes out every Tuesday until they run out. An Amigathon comes out every Thursday.
See, because when I was the few I released, I didn't.
I know you refuse to.
I don't have a schedule, man. Yeah. I'm just like, woo, I'm all over the place. It's crazy time. Let's see. So we also, Bo, you actually released a video of you playing this week's game.
Yes,
that came out this week, and a lot of people had a look at, including me, and laughed a lot, but not too much.
Hey,
me and the Brent released. We released the latest of our ARGs. What did we release? We did Vectrex last week, and this week we did the Vic 20. Good Lord, I'm telling you, I'm getting old. We had a lot of fun with the Vic. So if you're into the Vic or just want to see me badmouth Brent for 40 minutes or so, always a good time. So we did that this week. Are we missing any other site news here, Bo? I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't. Did you do anything that plays anything aside from Worthy this week? I think that covers it. So a busy week, and if you haven't caught it, we pitched it last week, but Boat had
actually
Bill.
No. I'd rather talk about something new, because we talked about that last week.
I'm still going to talk about it
on this past week's Insert Disc 2, which I haven't posted to the Google Plus. I talk with Amigo Chad about our abiding history with the card game Magic: The Gathering. This is a game that passed you by because you were much too old for it
and too cool and too poor.
That's true, but it was a big part of my life in early high school and a big part of Chad's life for like a 10 or 12 year period. So
and Brent was really into it.
Yeah, he was into it too. And so we talk about both our time playing casually and the way things used to be. And then we talk about the tournament scene that Chad was involved in. And finally, we wrap things up talking about collecting as investment, which if you held onto your cards from back in the day, you're doing pretty well.
I remember Brent sold a bunch of his cards for one of those multiple CD changers.
Probably a bad move. Yeah. I just sold a Chaos Orb. Are you familiar with a Chaos Orb is?
I don't know anything about those cards.
Okay. Man. Well, I just sold a Chaos Orb. $666.66.
Man, the rich get richer. I'll tell you. Good Lord. And to finish my thought, if you missed his interview with Bill, it's great.
Yeah.
You need to go listen to it. I really enjoyed your interviews with him and Robbie. They were both great. The great job. Your interview skills are off the charts.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And of course, it helps if you have someone extremely interesting to interview.
That is 9/10 of the game.
That's right.
And the other 10th is making sure the electronics work well.
Well, there you go. You can't have it all, Bo.
Are you ready, Aaron?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to talk Worthy?
I am. I actually am.
Well, let's do it.
And I want to also. I'll get into something afterwards. So let's go ahead and tackle Worthy.
Okay. Before you start in with it, I want to thank Alex Brown. First of all, I want to thank Amiga Bill because he put me in touch with Alex Brown, who he'd been talking to. Alex Brown is the coder for Worthy. He's also the creator of the fabulous Blocky Skies, which is a game that I took a look at and is very cool. It's another cool puzzle game. It doesn't quite have the polish of Worthy, but it's free and it's definitely neat. I dig the music a lot. So check that out. Alex, thank you so much for providing this copy for us to review.
And I'll have to mention, since you talked about it, I had not heard of Blocky Skies until I did this research for this episode. And I didn't get to play it, but I did have a look at it. It looks very interesting.
Yeah.
And several of the guys, they've got an interesting bunch here over work on this stuff. And, I looked over just some of the people that worked on this. And it's not like they're idle. They've got a lot of stuff a lot of sticks in the fire. So anyway, normally we don't touch new stuff. We never have, really. It's not like we didn't want to.
Yeah, you make it sound like we actively avoided it.
No,
we just never thought about doing.
Yeah, really, the only new. I asked Bo because it's funny when Bo was like, "Let's do some new stuff," and I said, "We did do new stuff." And he goes, "What?" I said, "Karateka." And he's like, and then I said, what was the other one I came up with?
Well, we've done plenty of new ports.
Right, but doesn't count real.
We've never done anything else that wasn't a new port.
So I was like, but it never occurred to me that we didn't. I never thought about it. It's all new to most of it's new to us. We haven't played it, but it's not new to new. So when Bo was like, let's do this puzzle game that just came out, I was like, well, okay, I'll do it. And so we jumped on it. So that again, Worthy came out this year, so it's brand new. Now this game. He ships it in various ways. All right.
He ships.
Oh man, no. So you've got the disc version, which I played the straight up disc version. That's what I played.
That's what I played as well.
He's also, of course, you can download. There's a downloadable version you can get. It's just the disc plus the ISO. You can make your own, and it's straight up just downloaded. There's no physical copy. Then he's got a set with the CD and a floppy, and then he's got a set with the box CD and a floppy. And of course, there's some various goodies, stickers.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and give those price points since you just talked about
All right. So now you'll have to help me with the euro to dollar conversion on these. So if you just want to download the game, it's $9. €9.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about that one?
I think it's about $10.
Is that? And then if you want the CD floppy, that's €19.
About $20.
And then if you want the whole enchilada,
I think you made a mistake.
No, I didn't write that. That was straight off the webpage. So I don't know why. I don't know why it says it, but I think it's it was $29.
Okay.
So that'd be what, $30 bucks, something like that.
Yeah.
So pretty reasonable, Frank, to be honest with you. And $10 for a brand new game, that's not too bad.
No, not at all.
So and it comes with there's also wallpaper and that kind of stuff.
Little add-on things.
That's right. Which everybody likes that stuff. So the developer of this, Pixel Glass, is the name, which I guess is Alex's outfit. They've got another game on the docket called Alarcity or ALR City.
Probably
this is a capital C. That's it right there.
Okay. So I think you're right.
Yeah. And it's coming soon. I kind of just had a look at what they had. It looks interesting. is a one-player game, and as Boat mentioned, the coder on this was Alex Brown, who also did Blocky Skies. Now, you had some other guys working on this too. One of the musicians was Simone Bernaccia. Am I close there?
I think so.
Now, listen to this. Simone has been busy because a lot of stuff that we hear about that's being released, he worked on. Remember Tank's Furry? That one. Powder, which I'd heard of. Dream of Rowan. Remember that one?
Powder based on that movie?
I don't know.
That weird vampire thing?
Was that a vampire?
I don't think. I always was scared of
it. Like an albino guy, wasn't he?
Nosferatu.
Was it Crazy Priest? Which I think I met him once. And a few other games. I mean, there's been a lot of action here with the Blocky Skies. So they worked together on that. Also on the team was John Sicarius. Is that right? You want to try that one?
Yeah, probably Sicarius.
I like that.
You're
name.
doing great on the names tonight,
I like
man.
that. Sicarius is a cool name. Who does graphics?
I'd love to have any part of my name have a silent T.
Yeah. So a little team, but that's a way. But this game, you could tell it was a small team effort. I mean, this is a polished title. Let's just start off right there. So I tried to ascertain the plot of this game just from watching the intro. All right. Did you read the backstory on this?
I did.
Okay, good. I'm gonna let you explain the backstory, but just when the game starts, it's not what I expected. I will say that right off the bat. The game starts this sort of like what would you call that? Just a side view of like almost like a building, almost like a pyramid or something.
It looks like the Parthenon or something like that. There's columns.
A little figure of a girl and a little figure of a boy come together, and there's a big, huge diamond between them, right? And then it comes up. It's very nice. Great music, sound. It looks cool. Now you want to try to give them a little bit of backstory.
I don't remember exactly what happened.
I mean, I've got it written here.
Okay, you go ahead and sum it up.
This is the description I read. So. The sacred mega diamond and many other precious trinkets have been stolen by evil battle mage Malik. All right, Malik. They were hidden deep in his castle. Aldo, a young prince whose goal is to impress beautiful Princess Ruby, is fearless and ready to throw himself into the middle of the castle in order to retrieve the stolen goods.
So they don't talk about why the princess is hanging out in the dungeon as well, then?
Well, no. This little description.
Okay, I was curious about that. She's just there.
So this is all sort of. I mean, it plays in, but it's not that important. So what is worthy? What is it in its essence? Well, it's not what I thought it would be.
Now, okay, talk about what you thought this game was.
Well, I heard puzzle game, and so I thought it was going to be a puzzle game, like a Tetris or something like that.
Like an abstract, shape-based puzzle game.
I'll admit it. I'd heard about this game. I may even see the screenshot, but I never thought what it was. And so when it loaded up, and keeping in mind that I read nothing, it loaded up, and I was like, okay, this sounds good. This looks sharp. Okay, what the heck is this? And so, it's pretty easy to figure out. You start in basically a maze. At some point in the maze, you see Ruby, the girl, hanging out. She doesn't even look that worried, to be completely honest with you. And you're on the other side of the maze, and you see some sort of enemy. In the beginning, of these little red blobs. They have little faces. They remind me of snow bees from a Pingo. If you remember Pingo, that's what they remind me of. Which is not, I like Pingo. So as you run through the maze, these little guys chase you around, and you are trying to collect enough of these diamonds that are scattered out the maze to make the princess happy. Right.
This is where the title comes from.
Right.
You're trying to prove your worth to her by collecting enough diamonds so she'll accept you.
So you can get to her occasionally without having enough diamonds, and she just basically spurns you.
Yeah,
it's just like she's not interested.
Nope.
Which makes me believe that she doesn't need to be rescued. She's just sort of watching you go out and toil to get her what she wants.
Which I kind of dig.
Well, it's an interesting. I don't know what this means from a social perspective. It means
she doesn't need rescuing, man. We're living in the 21st century.
It's just sort of funny. In fact, she will just. There are many times where, like, if you don't pay attention, there's a little chime that sounds when you get enough diamonds, and you can count. There's a real nice like display on the side that tells you how many diamonds, how many swords you've got, how many lives you've got, and how much time you've got left. And so, because these mazes are timed, although I did not get far enough into the game to where the point where the timer came into play. Okay, I would either get killed or I'd get out. If you get to her without having enough diamonds, she just basically folds her arms up and turns away. And if there happens to be a bad guy behind you, you just get slaughtered.
It's over. You're dead.
Get slaughtered right beside her. And
what would have been great if they would have put it in a little laughing animation?
Well, geez, that bit seems cruel.
It's like the dog and duck hunt, you know?
So if you think just from that description, you think to yourself, well, this sounds like sort of like a Pac-Man or something. It's not anything like Pac-Man, really. And as you get into this game, you can't just play a couple levels and be like, okay, I think I got it, because it's very clever, isn't it, Boat? The way that the levels progress. Now, I don't know how far you got in. I'll freely admit I got to level 14, and that was as far as I could get.
You got much farther than I did.
Oh, okay, good. And I played the crap out of this because this is one of those games that you could pick up. Like I played it off flop. Okay, it loads up quick.
Yeah,
the load times aren't bad, and once you start playing it, you can just sit there and play it.
Absolutely,
it runs on any Amiga, which is tremendous. If you get it, it'll run on Amiga 1000, 500, 600. It runs on anything,
right?
And that's why it was made. Smart,
right? Okay,
I'll get into that later. So as you play the game, you realize, okay, your guy has no ability to kill anything unless he gets a sword. And when you get a sword, and they're occasionally sprinkled strategically around the maze, you get to use it one time to kill somebody. I mean, you could swing and miss and still have it, but it's a one-kill sword. And so it's sort of like something you get at, like, say, the Dollar Tree.
Now, I will say that this, a much more cruel game would have given you a one-use sword that if you missed, you're screwed.
Yeah, and that would have been super cruel because it took me a good while. The hardest part of this game was that, well, there were really two parts I thought were difficult. And they were knowing when to swing the sword from what position, and the control, which I found the control was fine. But this is a game that requires nimble fingers. You have to, and I'll explain why. Like I said, the first couple levels, they're not that difficult. But then you get to a point where there are not enough swords available instantly to get you past the number of bad guys. They outnumber you, and so what's often the case in this game is that you are leading a little conga line of bad guys as they chase you around. They're about the same speed at you at first. The red guys.
It's a lot like Pac-Man Championship Edition, DX, when you're doing the same sort of thing, except this game has much more lethal consequences than.
And unlike Pac-Man, where you've got pretty much a setup maze, this maze is not just, you can just keep rolling.
Yeah,
there are spikes that come up to the floor. There are parts of the maze where it's just a room where you can get trapped. There are places where the door is not open. So I mean, it's much easier to get nabbed.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very careful, not only where you go, but like even to the point where you'll come across these monsters and they'll be sleeping, and sometimes they're asleep, and sometimes they're not, and you've got to make sure you know when to wake them up and where to be, and because if you have to get 2 or 3 monsters chasing you around a square in a counterclockwise or a clockwise way, you've got to make sure that they all come the right way, because if one of them strays off, if you let one of them stray off the path, they'll go around the other way and trap you.
Absolutely. One of the nice things that I appreciated about this game is that when a level starts, the monsters are not roaming. It's not like Pac-Man, where if you just stay in one spot, they'll eventually come and get you. You have time to survey the scene, trying to plot out your course in your mind before you jump into action.
Yeah, and it takes you a second to understand. This is one of those games that once you play it through once, you can now it's not one you can just instantly win again, because there's still you have to be nimble.
There's a dexterity component.
And another component is the randomness of the bad guys. And like I said, the first 10 levels, you're just worried about these red guys. And I could not do the game's puzzles justice by trying to describe them. They're too clever and complex. But I mean,
I mean, the way I would say it is that you're manipulating the route of the enemies. You're activating switches to open otherwise enclosed areas. All in the quest to get enough diamonds, because there'll be diamonds that are locked behind certain doors. You've got to flip switches to open the doors, and all while managing how to deal with these enemies with a limited number of ammunition in the form of the sword.
And that's all well and good, but there are plenty of times, and maybe some of the levels that you didn't get up to, where your ability to beat the level is strictly based on your ability to be as super duper nimble and do stuff that you can barely get away with. Mm-hmm. There's a level where you have to get a certain amount of diamonds to leave. And you can get right to the girl, but she spurns you don't want to go. And you have to lead 2 or 3 of these monsters on a chase all the way around the maze. And you have to go around certain areas to make sure you've got enough time to get back up and go down this one dead-end street and get enough diamonds and then get back out before they reach the point where you can't get out. As I mentioned, I put a review of this up on Lemon because I was reading some of the reviews there, and this game is it is on the borderline of being so frustrating that I don't want to play it, but it doesn't cross it. And so what that means is I get frustrated, but I can beat it, and I feel great when I do. It's like I got it. Now, once you get past as you go through the game, there are several enemies. There are the red little blobs, and then you come across the blue blobs. Did you get fun enough to see the blue ones?
I never saw the blue ones.
Oh man, the blue ones look like the red ones, except they're blue, and they're exactly as fast as you are, maybe a little faster. And so they are super quick, and so you can't screw around with these guys. If you just go past one, he'll get you. Just if he's sitting there sleeping, he'll just nab you. You've got to be super quick. You got to be on a haul and know where you're going to take this guy to get a sword, because you can't get away from them, and they're all on you. It's very difficult, very extremely difficult. And the first time you see them, you really have to understand how it's a different strategy with the blue blobs versus the red blobs. Mm-hmm. And then further into the game, you've got the green creatures. They're a little taller than a blob. What these guys do is they spit. They basically spit a missile at you, or a glob of goo or whatever that'll kill you. And so and they spit it every so often, and you can time it, and you've got to get past them via timing their spit, so you can figure out a way to kill them. Along the way, I should mention that aside from the fact that you have to dodge these guys or attempt to kill them, there are also like dart traps that are around. Dart traps are a little difficult to. I'm not 100% sure even now after playing this a lot what exactly triggers them.
I think that once an object walks in front of their path, after a set time, they fire. And so they become your friend in most of these levels, because what you have to do is you lure the enemy to follow you. And again, like you said before, it's all about the timing. You want the enemy to be close enough to you that when it's following you, the dart will kill it, but not so close that it catches up with you and kills you.
I don't think I've played it. I'm trying to think of a game that it's funny. I was reading some reviews on a site that right when the day it came out. This was not an Amiga site. It was just a regular text site. And I was reading there were some people that commented on the game, and they were like, "Oh, this looks like that," or "It looks like they took these 2 games and put them together." And I personally, and I would be the first to admit, hey, this is a clone of this. I can't think of a game that I've played. The closest game I can think of was that game that we played that had the horrible game show host. What was that? You remember that one?
Oh yeah,
it was on the CD32.
But that's
the closest I can come. But I like this one better. And one thing this game has got, it's one of the few times I can ever remember having to be think on your toes and be incredibly nimble with the stick. I mean, this isn't one of those games where you can just get your auntie to sit down and play it like Tetris. I mean, you really have to be a pretty good, pretty quick player that has really good reflexes.
Again, too, it's just like so many of these games where your auntie probably could beat the first level or the first 2 levels, but once you get higher and higher, things become much more difficult.
What did you think of the difficulty?
I thought it was fair. I thought I didn't put as much time into it as you did. I probably played like the first 5 or 6 levels. And once I got to the point where, I realized, okay, it's going to take a significant, because my brain just doesn't work as fast as yours does. I mean, you've got a pretty clever mind when it comes to
you heard him because you were mocking me earlier.
Puzzles. Yeah. I feel like this would be one of these games where if I had an infinite amount of time, I'd eventually be able to figure out these puzzles. But once I got to the point where I was like, boy, this is really going to take some doing, then I turned it off and I was like, I'll come back to it. And I just never got a chance to come back to it. There is a game that is almost exactly like this game.
Okay.
It's called Adventures of Lolo.
Okay.
It came out
I've heard of that.
It came out on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
They made at least 3 of them.
Okay, I've heard of that.
It's exactly the same as this game. Now, of course, there's a different tile set. There's different, characters and things like that. The enemies are different, but it's basically the same thing. You have to collect a certain number of things before you move on. There's no girl in it. Your girl has been kidnapped, obviously, but other than that, exactly the same. So this game, this type of game has been done before, but probably not on the Amiga, at least not that I know of.
So it has the same thing with the enemies, the weapons, the darts, the whole 9 yards, the spitting.
They're all different graphical representations of those things, but all of those mechanics are there.
I've heard of that game, but that's one I never played.
I like it. Again, it's one of those games that I get to a certain point and I'm like, I just can't figure this out. But
now the closest thing I can think of is when, in terms of having to be smart, puzzly, and nimble. It's some of the later stages in like the Three Vikings game, where you have to really switch back and forth real quick, and you have to be pretty nimble with your stick. But this one, I found this easier to get into. It's simpler.
I think that's more of a puzzle platformer. This is a single screen. You can see everything on the screen at once. You can plot your course out.
I think I like that better.
Me too. Me too.
And not because Lost Vikings is a great game. It really is. But in terms of a pick up and play thing, where I want to do it when I'm like, this could easily be like on iOS or something. You could easily, I could see this on a portable device with you can just play it. I like that kind of stuff. Quick pick up and play game. There were some things in it that I thought were odd. I will say that. And the number one thing that I thought was really freaking odd is is when you kill these monsters, there's a huge like blood splatter. And it seems real out of place to me in a game that's sort of a cute game. And when you get killed, there's a big blood splatter, that seems odd. I thought that was an odd choice.
I found that to be odd too, because the rest of the game has such a cute aesthetic. It would be like seeing Link die a bloody death, in one of the Legend of Zelda games.
I was thinking if Miss Pac-Man just got like literally physically eaten in front of you. That'd be, so I thought that was a strange. That was kind of goofy. And also the fact that your girl is so callous. I learned to not like Ruby just because she'll just sit there while you get slaughtered. And maybe if you died and it wasn't so bloody, it wouldn't be too bad. But I mean, it's not violent, folks. He's there, then they get him. There's a noise and there's just a blood splatter. Right? But I mean, it seems horrific.
Yeah, I agree.
And she just doesn't care.
Right.
And it irritated me. It's like, I'm out here, and the fact that you're out here risking your tiny for this broad, and you're bringing her all this jewelry, but that's not good enough.
Does it hit a little too close to home, Aaron?
Well, listen, I'm going to say, what are you trying to get me killed, bud? What are you doing to me? So they pitched this game. I'm going to read some of the stuff they said that this has, because we didn't get far enough to know everything. So it says here it's A500 optimized, 50 hertz, 40 action-packed episodes or levels. 40 is not bad. I think it's a decent number. I mean, these are pretty tricky.
Yeah.
And mind-bending puzzles, I'll give you that. That's true. Superb 32-color pixel art. I found the art fine.
Boy, I think I would go more than fine. I think for an OCS game, I mean, we've covered thousands of CD32 games that look like much, much worse than this.
I think it's an attractive game. I mean,
the way if you look at like the shadows, the little things, the shadows of the characters, even though the sprites are small, they're still like discernible animation in the sprites.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's, for what it is, it's more than serviceable. It's attractive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like Shadow of the Beast, but that's not what this game is. It's a puzzle game. By the way, this would be at home in any arcade. I mean, it's almost set up for a vertical screen, except for the side thing. Punchy Oh, it's a catchy tunes and lovely music. I agree. There's a lot of music.
And at least the levels that I played, if there isn't a different song for every level, there is different music on every level. It might loop back around eventually. That's something that is so sorely missing on so many Amiga titles. They finally figured it out, 25 years later.
Yeah, I thought the music was catchy. I thought it was. I enjoyed it.
And I thought it didn't detract from the it didn't keep my mind from working.
Right, and I thought the sound effects were perfectly fine. I thought they sounded just good. I mean, again, this is a game that you're not relying heavily on them, but I mean, they're good, and it works with the sound. There's no problem there. Arcade style and presentation, we touched on that. That's exactly what it has. And multiple endings. Now, I found this intriguing, and I wanted to go and I went and skipped ahead to see some different levels, but I did not want to see the ending because I plan on getting to the end. And I didn't want to ruin it. But I like the fact that this sort of game has multiple endings.
It is neat.
Which I think that's kind of fun. I believe, is it Bubble Bobble or one of those games has multiple endings. I don't remember which one. In fact, maybe a couple of them have multiple endings. I'm not sure. It seems like there was one if you go through it without dying, you get an ending.
I think there is. I know that Bubble Bobble, I think it's got a weird thing where you can't get the true ending unless you're playing a 2-player game.
Yeah. Now, I did notice this. When I played this version of this, I played it on the Amiga Forever when I played it, which it worked perfectly fine. I saw that when I was looking at the requirements here, and all these are the same, the disc version, any PAL Amiga. So I don't know how well this is going to work if you don't have a PAL Amiga, and I didn't get to try it out. And you have to have 512 chip and 512 regular for the disc version. That's nothing.
Right.
So everyone should probably have that by now. And the rest of them are just a meg or a meg and a half, depending if you use a CD-ROM version on. So if you have a CD-ROM hooked up to your Amiga, you've probably got enough memory.
Yeah.
I would assume.
You know what's up.
And so overall, like I said, I played it, and I tried like gangbusters to get past level 14. Couldn't do it. And then when I skipped ahead, when I skipped ahead, watched someone get further than me on the video. It looked. I could see what was going on, which helps. I could actually see. I don't know, and I watched a playthrough of this, and it was infuriating. Because it's almost like a robot was doing the playthrough. It was amazing to me that it was happening.
And that's the thing. I mean, once if you're the kind of person that puts a lot of time into this thing, you're going to get it down to where because all you're doing, you're memorizing the patterns. That's what you're doing. So I did look at to see. I didn't see anyone who had actually reviewed this and given it some sort of assigned it a number. Let's be the first.
Well, except for Lemon.
When it comes to graphics, I give it a 4.
Oh, geez, I'm not going down that road. The people in Lemon seem to like it. They gave it an 8.55, which is, of course, it's early on, but they already had I think 14 or 15 reviews. I added one. I really enjoy the game. And I'm surprised. And I told Boat early in the week, I'm like, listen, I'm going to play this, and I think you're going to be surprised about my answer because Boat knows this is not necessarily my bag. Listen, this is right. This is something I would have played in the arcade in '82. That game, what'd you say, Lolo? I've never played it, but I'm not surprised. This is just like something you played in the arcade back in the day. You could, like I said, you could put it in any coin op. I like it. I like quick action. And while I don't like puzzle games all that much, this is my type of puzzle game. It wasn't too frustrating. It was fun to play. Even the fact that it's kind of bloody and it seems kind of weird. There's an evil part of me that enjoys the fact that you have to buy off this bra with diamonds, and she'll be more than happy to let you get killed.
That's right.
In pursuit of her pleasure.
And it's a great point you bring up. If those of you listening right now know another single screen kind of puzzle action game like this for the Amiga that's in that same worthy vein, leave a comment in the YouTube comments and we'll check it out.
And I'd also like if you had a chance to play this and you liked it or you didn't like it, drop us a note and make a comment under the video and let us know what you thought.
Yeah,
because it'd be fun. And maybe next week we'll read over some of the people's little reviews of it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And there were none on eBay.
None on eBay.
I was actually surprised. I'll be honest with you.
No flippers out there.
I thought someone might be trying to get $35, $40.
Just wait till it goes out of print. That's when they'll come out of the woodwork.
You might be right.
All right, Aaron. Well, before we wrap things up, I wanted to tell everybody about our new merch store. We talked about this last week, but we lost the last 5 minutes of our podcast last week because I tend to writhe about like a snake whenever we're recording, and I kicked the table at an inopportune time over at Amigo Studios East, and the cable fell out of the microphone, and we lost all audio. So
I was hoping when you went to fix that you would be like, you would just pretend to be us.
Oh, that would have been great.
And put the voices
different voices.
That would have been great.
I get the kazoo out.
Yeah.
But I want to tell everybody about our new storefront over on Teespring. If you go to teespring.com/store/Amigos Retrogaming, you can check out our plethora of Amigos related tees. We've got everything from our Amigos Are Scum shirt that puts us in the world of Maniac Mansion or another LucasArts game. We've got our brand new Patreon supporter shirt, Amigos World of Supporters.
That's a beauty.
With the Sensible Soccer theme. I changed, we were over on TeePublic, but I changed to Teespring because the shipping, the international shipping, and the domestic shipping is much cheaper. And so every purchase you make helps benefit the store, helps benefit the show. Helps benefit me, Motive Car. Send all your payments.
T-shirt mogul.
Yeah. So check that out. Also, Aaron, we did not have any winners of the Patreon Song Challenge last week.
I can't remember. Did you actually get the song off before you screwed up?
So this is all new.
So wait a minute. What did you expect?
We're doing what? No, yeah, you didn't guess the song you didn't hear last week. I'm referring to 2 weeks ago now.
I thought maybe they would lip read it.
Oh, that would have been great. I should have made that the challenge.
You should have re-sang a different song over your lip. Like you should have had like Eve come down and sing, or got like a Barry White guy.
I would have. I'll just bring the ghost of Barry White in.
That'd be awesome.
But 2 weeks ago, the correct song was "Waiting in Vain" by Bob Marley. So I'm going out on a limb thinking there's probably not a whole lot of reggae fans in our immediate circle, at least not that would recognize my contemporary vocal stylings.
Legalize it, man.
Yeah, exactly. So this year we're going to hit a little bit closer to home, something a little bit simpler.
For what's closer than reggae?
What's closer to What's closer to West Virginia than the heart of reggae? Actually, we did say I guess I could do like dueling banjos.
I was confused.
If you would like to be part of this illustrious list of names, we do have a Patreon page at patreon.com/Amigos podcast, where if you support the show, you'll get access to our Discord server, where there's nonstop Amiga and retro gaming and modern gaming and all kinds of talk going on with a great cast of characters from all over the world.
It's insanity.
You can be part of the Amigos Game Selection Committee and actually help pick the games that we cover on this show. There's a lot of different options out there for people who are interested in supporting the show through Patreon, and we thank everyone who does that. If you know the song for this week, you can email your answer, your guess, to john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read your name in an upcoming episode if you guess correctly.
I'm going to guess Jammin'.
Jammin'?
Right, we jammin'.
Man.
Remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
I want to jam up with you.
Unfortunately, I think I guess I could do that. I was thinking about, it's sort of a repetitive tune. That's the problem with a lot of reggae is there's about 5 notes.
Well, the chorus, the non-chorus.
Yeah.
You can have like a million names. I can just stick it right in there.
Right. So here we go. Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Shanzo, Darren Lomax, Colin 419. Barkbit, Seb, Kieran, and Roland Burke, Andrew Monkshaw the Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf, Kellogg, Alan Kebab, Donald Tyler, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figure CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan, Sir Gordon Mortensen, Edvin, Helen, Blindo 75, Christopher Sol, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Lauren, Juru, Graham Bebke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckasey, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Taste from the Crib, Josh, Nat, Adam, Bradley, Jonas, Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy, Humbert, Stan, Daniel Banks, and Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barben.
You know, I got that one at the very end.
Good.
At the beginning, I was like, what?
It takes you a while. When you're, I don't know, aged, the brain works more slowly.
You ever take a synthesizer, you like at Radio Shack or the mall, and just start banging your hands on it like this? It goes like, that's what it sounded like there at the beginning.
That's what it sounded like. That was a.
I thought you were doing some sort of one of those like real postmodern college music style syntho
college
solos.
music, syntho solo.
That's right. That's what I thought. I couldn't. I was like, where's the tune here?
That was the name of my band in college, Syntho Solo.
Syntho Solo. you know, what's that song? Ooh, what a lucky match was it? It goes, that's something like that. Which I love that song and that song.
Who did Lucky Man? Is that America?
Oh. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's good. I mean, that synthesizer, you don't hear that. I love those cheesy synths.
It was Jethro Tull that did.
What was that, Jethro Tull?
With the flute solo in the middle?
I love Jethro Tull, but no.
Okay. Well, Aaron, next week, the Amigos Game Selection Committee has chosen quite a title for us.
All right.
We're going to be looking at the Electronic Arts platformer Flood.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
I've never played that.
Stay tuned for that.
We've heard that come up. That's come up in a ton of our games.
It has.
Remember, it's been referenced by us many times, but I've never played it.
So well, we're going to check it out. We do record Amigos every Friday night, except when we don't, at around 5 to 5:30ish Eastern time.
Traffic permitting.
You can watch us live on YouTube Gaming. That's where most of the action in the chat is. Or you can watch us on Twitch. We simulcast to Twitch. You can hang out in the YouTube chat with the crew, such as Pixels at Dawn, Duncan Styles in the house. Thanks again, Duncan. Anthony Davis, Pixels at Dawn. I said his name already. Edvin Helland, John Marshall, Per Sandgren. Tons of people in the chat. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in the chat. Aaron,
it's good to be back live.
It's good to be back live. We will see you all next time for Flood. Until then, adios.